Hey guys, hope you're all having a great day. So on either side of me, I have some lavender plants. We have 8 of them in total, and today we're going to be creating a nice compact hedge of lavender. So I'm going to talk more about the plants and what our plan is with this area, but let's get to planting first. Okay, so now that I've planted everything, let's go over what variety I planted. So obviously this is lavender, and this is a variety called Avignon Early Blue. I'm going to put the spelling up on the screen if you want to look it up yourself, but I'll also find a link to this plant down below so that way you can do some more reading if you're interested. I wanted to find a compact variety of lavender because if you get a variety like English lavender or something like that, more of the traditional varieties, they can be 3 or 4 feet tall, and that's just too big for this space. So we wanted to find something that was more compact, that wouldn't take up this entire space, but add a lot of interest as you walk into the backyard. So I just want to go over the rest of this information on this plant if you're interested in growing it in your own garden. Bloom time is going to be late spring to midsummer. It's the middle of May, so there's a couple buds on some of those plants, but they will be blooming probably within the next 2-3 weeks or so, maybe to the next month is when they'll start putting out their bloom spikes. Exposure says plant in full sun, which I'm going to be honest, the area that we're planting them in may not be full sun, but it's definitely part sun. But I think it's going to get enough light, especially a lot of morning light, that it'll do okay. And then it'll get filtered sun through this fence over here, especially because there's not anything too tall in front of it. There's just black-eyed Susans on the opposite side of this fence. And that area is pretty open where it'll still get a decent amount of sun. Water just says requires excellent drainage and is drought tolerant, so we don't have to worry about watering this too much, which is nice. And then they grow 10 to 12 inches tall and then space them 9 to 11 inches apart. I spaced them out it was probably anywhere from like 12 to 16 inches, but I didn't measure it. It's just how well they did in this space. But we had 8 in total, and I think the way that I spaced them is going to give them a decent amount where they won't really grow into each other. They'll all be separate plants, but I kind of was going for that look anyways. All right, so just for reference of where we are, I'm at my dad's house. Their driveway is right over there, and this is walking into the backyard. You can see the row of arborvitaes, and then we have the garden here, which is a hot mess. That's going to be taken care of this week. But back over here, so we have the 3 lavender here, which is where I was just standing. We have a row of green giant arborvitaes, which are starting to grow very fast. There's the river birch there, a hinoki cypress, black-eyed Susans. Then we have the 3 lavender, and then these are the 2 honeysuckle plants that we planted last summer. Those are going to take over this trellis. So this is kind of the idea that we had as you are looking at this space from the backyard. We have 2 honeysuckle. They're the Sensation honeysuckle from Proven Winners. They're going to grow over this trellis and have a beautiful yellow flower to them and are going to smell amazing. And you can see that they're all budded up for the season. Lots of buds all over these plants. So they're going to start to grow, thankfully, but we haven't even had them in the ground for an entire year. And then over here are the 5 other lavender, and then the whole mess that I made. And the reason that they don't go any further is because we're actually planning, I think it's going to be this year, we're going to do it finally. We're going to put a deck here, which makes sense for the floating sliding glass door. And then the deck is going to end somewhere like around here. And then on this corner, we're going to put a tall upright grass. So we're going to look for something. I haven't had a whole lot of luck looking for grasses, but it's still early in the season. So we'll have a grass here. We have lavender, honeysuckle, lavender, and then arborvitaes. So I think it'll fill in this space nicely. And as you walk in, you're going to smell not only the honeysuckles, but also the lavender. And then what's nice is that the honeysuckles have a yellow flower, and then the lavender is going to be purple. So the yellow and purple contrast each other very nicely. The other thing I do like about this lavender is that it has more of a bluish color. Some lavender is a little more green, some of it's a little more blue. When I was at the garden center, there's a couple different varieties I was looking at, and I ended up choosing this one because it's very compact. It doesn't even get a foot tall. It has more of a blue, like it looks like they're almost like icicles, the way that they look. It's a little hard to tell on camera. It's also almost 8 o'clock at night right now, and a cloudy day, so it's hard to tell since there's only so much like natural light. But they have more of a bluish tinge to them, and then obviously obviously the gorgeous purple flowers. So, and then at the end of the season, we're going to cut these back almost to the ground, so that way they don't develop a woody stem to them, and they can have new fresh growth every year. I just wanted to add that there's tons of varieties of lavender. Oh, and I never mentioned, this variety grows in a zone 6 through 8, so it's a pretty narrow area where you can grow this lavender, but there's tons of different varieties of lavenders that grow in different zones. The majority of them, I'd say, grow in a zone 5 through 9. This one's just a little more specific, doesn't want too warm or too cold of winters. But if you want to like have your own scale of this, you can plant however many plants you want and look at different varieties for some that get larger, because if you have more space, then you certainly could do larger varieties of lavender. This one, we just wanted to have a nice, small, compact variety for this. So besides that, hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in the next one.